my name is Sarah, and welcome to Her Ascension Story, the podcast that proves the world is transformed by every hero's personal adventure. Here we talk about the real and the raw things that we should all be talking about more. So if you want to be a part of the movement of getting real about the deeper, more meaningful things about life, be sure to subscribe and follow and get ready to get real. My hope is that this platform inspires you to explore and expand new empowering beliefs about yourself so you can make your own impassionate impact too. And those three pillars, inspiration, independence, and impact, aren't just the premise for this podcast, but for my work too. If you want to check out that more, be sure to go to herascensionstory.com or check me out on social media at Her Ascension Story. Welcome back, everyone. Today, my guest is Jessica Harlan, a longtime soul sister of mine who grew up in a small town in Ohio. When she was 25, she moved to Denver, Colorado with her boyfriend, who she unexpectedly lost 6 months after the move. She developed some unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with her grief and survive through it. And she has made her transformation through amazingly powerful ways to where she is today, where she is thriving and helping other people heal and quite literally being a mountain climber. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Jess.
Of course, it is my honor.
Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation. There's so much passion and so much triumph and resilience in your story, and I'm so excited for more people to get to hear that and get inspired by it. So, oh yeah, of course. So I think the first thing that I want to touch base on, if we can just jump right into it, is what inspired you to actually pick up your life from a small town in Ohio and actually move to a big city in Colorado?
That is a great question. So at an early age, I always felt very different from everyone else that I knew. I just thought differently, related to people differently, and I distinctly remember, I had friends my age, but I always wanted to listen and be with people older than me. And great listening skills and really enjoyed observing other people and learning that way. And always, I was always kind of quiet in nature, kept to myself a lot, but I knew that someday I would be wanting to explore the world and see what else was out there. And my aunt moved out here to Denver when I was pretty young as a child, and we had always had such a great relationship. And I missed having her around, of course, but I got to visit her a few times growing up, and there was something that, not to sound like super cliche or anything, but something just like called my soul home. It just felt free. It just felt like something so different, but something so familiar at the same time. Like that was where I belonged, and that became my dream to move here. And once I finished grad school, I just said, now's the time to go. It was very unlike me. I've always been very responsible, so for me to pick up and move and do that without a job was out of character, but something that I just knew I needed to do.
That's so amazing. How did that picking up and going and just kind of flowing with where you were feeling called, how did that change you on a spiritual or an emotional level?
I think that it was bold and scary, and I didn't really think it would impact me that much at first, but as it started to settle in, it got pretty scary. And, you know, I was leaving my family behind and all of the friends that I've made, everything I'd ever known. And I do like value that like small scale homey feeling of a small town and being connected and having support. Um, so like I really did cherish growing up where I grew up. But it like leaving my comfort zone was one of the hardest things I've had to do, but I can't imagine if I didn't do that. You know, so much of me would have stayed kind of the same. I would definitely not be the person who I was today had I not taken that jump and made that move and gave me more confidence in myself. I think I struggled with confidence a lot growing up and, you know, just feeling comfortable in my own skin. So it was just an important part of my journey to really do what I knew I needed to do.
Definitely understandable. Would you say that there were specific obstacles or risk factors that you had to go through in order to actually start to thrive and succeed outside of your comfort zone there?
Yeah, there were a lot of obstacles. Um, First and foremost, I think I didn't really plan for the area to grow as much as it did. Um, Denver has grown so much over the past 6 years. Definitely got very expensive, and for me to move without an income um, was definitely scary at first, and didn't know what to expect or what salary to ask for. Um, so I think financial was certainly an adjustment for me, but luckily I had a great aunt and uncle who let Jason and I live with them and kind of get our feet on the ground. So I think financial was definitely one aspect, and I think community was a big obstacle for me. And I mean, I had some family out here and that was wonderful, but especially with losing Jason unexpectedly within that first 6 months, I'd just gone through so much. And, you know, prior to his passing, it really, it was a struggle. I could tell he was struggling. We were struggling together, and I didn't know what the right thing to do was. I didn't know how to handle anything. I was just kind of hit with all these really tough challenges in my relationship, and trying to kind of like, I went into that survival mode of trying to make sure everybody else was happy and trying to make sure everyone else was okay, and really kind of pouring from an empty cup. So that was really challenging. And then the loss of him was just um, devastating. Is the only way I can think to describe it. I never thought that something like that would happen to me, and I didn't really have a grip as to like what was going on. I think that I saw a lot of things that I wanted to see and was in shock. Um, you know, being so young and losing a partner like that, like it's so challenging because you're dealing with your grief in the shock, and then you're having to go through all of these emotions, and not really like tending to what's happening. You're just kind of like in this weird space where like you know what happened, but it's it doesn't make any sense, and you're still coming to reality with it all. And then trying to figure out like what do I do? Um, who do I lean on? And I lost a lot of relationships. Just because people don't understand, and I think part of that process was weaning people out who weren't really there for me. Um, but also just moving eliminates a lot of relationships as well. Sometimes people lose touch or they don't know how to be there. And coming from my perspective, I didn't even know how to ask people to help me because I had no idea what I needed. I was just really just surviving for a long time, and um, really just trying to focus on one day at a time.
Yeah, I can imagine that that's the only way to get through it is to just one day at a time and to just take things slowly and like you said, just try to navigate it, not necessarily try to tackle everything that's happening at one time. But so you're pretty young and you leave your home, you leave behind everything that you know, you're going through immense changes of trying to adapt into a new environment and reestablish your roots, your job, somewhere to live, and then the rug gets swept from underneath you by losing your partner at a young age. How did you cope with all of those changes happening so swiftly in your life?
I think at first, I exercised a lot, um, and I was on top of doctor's appointments. I tried talking. I went to therapy. I think that was probably the best thing that could have happened was going to see a therapist. Um, I definitely overindulged in alcohol use and kind of used that, I think, as a crutch, not realizing how that was impacting me emotionally or physically. And um, there were there are so many different treatment options, and especially coming from a small place where I was from with limited options or only so many things you can try or that are available to like a bigger city where there's so many things out there. Like there's therapy, there's regular doctors, there's alternative doctors, there's acupuncturists, there's Reiki, there's energy healing, there's massages, there's just so many things. And I think at first I was willing to try everything. So I tried, you know, getting a massage every once in a while to relax and kind of let go. I went to therapy. I went to my doctor's appointments. I had a lot of health issues happening from internalizing stress. I lost a lot of hair. Um, my blood pressure was high. I tried a few different medications because I wasn't sleeping, and I would wake up in the middle of the night with these like night terrors, and I just couldn't sleep anymore. I went several days without sleeping before, and even after being put on medication to sleep, it some of it didn't help. Um, it's like I was so exhausted all of the time, and I felt also very alone. I think that going through something like that is very isolating, but I also kind of felt like a lot of people didn't understand. So I kind of didn't really talk about it a lot because I felt misunderstood.
Do you feel like there was anything, like one or two specific things in particular that helped you that maybe you think that other people would benefit from in that situation too, or not even so much as benefiting other people because we all have our own processes and our own paths, but was there something that maybe someone recommended to you that was helpful or that you just found on your own that maybe the universe aligned for you or anything like that that actually helped you through it?
I think that my therapist was definitely a gem, and I still see her on occasion. Um, and she has been one of those women that has really just helped me and been a cheerleader and such an objective person that has been able to provide help. I think some things that also helped was massage and Reiki and acupuncture. Those natural healing remedies really just provided a safe space for me and really kind of tapped into some of my passions about self care and just learning and being open minded. And my yoga practice was such a healing thing to begin. It was definitely uncomfortable for me at first because I'd never done yoga before. It's intimidating to walk into a yoga studio full of strangers and try to follow what people are doing.
For sure. I know that firsthand.
But I met so many lovely, open people that, you know, were genuine and everybody's healing from something, and it gave me a sense of community. And it ended up being one of my favorite practices, and I still do yoga a lot today. But it really started that journey for me, and it gave me a space to feel comfortable.
Oh, that's awesome. So you really think that the healing at an energetic seed or root level is really what kickstarted the transformation, or when did you realize or what helped you realize that your life was starting to take a positive turn from all of this?
I think when it really started is when I just came to this point through talking with a few friends and family members that were really concerned about me, and they totally had the reason to do that. Um, I just got to a point where I'm like, I can't, like, there has to be something more. Um, there has to be a way for me to heal and to really live my life again, because there's so much more to than what I'm doing now. And then I kind of just had these moments of, okay, like, it's time to be honest about how you're feeling and how things are going, and it's time to start taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. I think was a huge moment for me where I struggled putting other people always before myself, and once I lived from a place of I need to take care of myself first, and I'm gonna go on this journey, and I'm going to be disciplined and work really hard and heal and want healthy relationships and set healthy boundaries. And I knew that I had to do that all for myself, not for other people, but because I wanted to do it.
That's so powerful, and I'm over here like all smiles, just like so happy for you, like so, just so in awe of, because I know you personally. We've been friends for quite some time now, and I remember seeing and witnessing your transformation process throughout all of this. And I remember specifically when you started sharing like that you were going to yoga all the time, like slowly you started posting on social media more pictures of you smiling and doing more things, and I was like silently and also verbally cheering you on the entire time. And it's just really amazing to hear how you can go from such dark depths and actually be the one that you brought yourself out of it. You had this support system, it sounds like, that was really powerful, but you were actually the one to like say like, no, I'm gonna buck up, I'm going to do this for me. And to be the person that usually puts others before themselves, I think that that's such a powerful and transformational thing in itself.
Oh, thank you so much. And I have always treasured our friendship, um, just a lot. And it was really rough. And I remember like sitting there with my therapist in my first session, and she's just like, you when you grieve like every part of your life that you haven't dealt with yet. And I was just kind of like, oh my God. I have to do this. But then, I came to the conclusion that, yeah, yeah, I'm going to do it. I don't have to do it, but I'm going to. And it's challenging, but you really just have to take it one day at a time and be patient with yourself. And, you find that compassion for yourself, and that helps you to give back to others. I still have that piece of me. It's just from a healthier place now.
Wow. So you didn't just deal with this one epic um, hurdle in your life. You dealt with, at that time, you used it as an advantage and an opportunity to actually deal with everything that you haven't coped with or dealt with in your life.
Yeah. Um, everyone has their own journey and own family and own struggles that they've always had, but I had never explored that before I moved, or really thought about it. I just thought this is the way life is. But like moving and going through all of that experience and meeting all these different people with different perspectives, my eyes were just wide open, and there was no going back. It was like, okay, like there's so much more out there, and there's so much more I can do, and so much growth ahead of me. Like I can still have a pretty amazing life. And I've done everything in my power to pursue that.
That's incredible. Ah, you're so amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
So, what goals or dreams do you think have come to fruition because of owning your process and really going through the growth and healing path that you've taken?
I had a lot of goals. I'd always been a little bit of an overachiever and a perfectionist, which I also required like a lot of healing and patience. But I always have a goal. And at first it was, I'm going to be a really hard worker and get to the next step. And then, finding my passion in my career, um, which is HR. And I committed to getting certified before I really had a lot of experience. I had the minimum experience required to take the test. And I failed the first time, but I passed the second. And now, I've achieved that goal and really kind of made a path for myself. I became a Reiki master and entered the whole realm of healing and committed to that process, which was incredible. just being an intuitive person and learning about these things. It was also new and also just eye-opening. And I also set a goal to hike all 54 14ers. And I'm almost at the 25 mark. A few more and I will be there. And I'll be
That's
halfway.
that's amazing. So you're talking about all 54 mountains in Colorado that are higher than 14,000 feet, right?
That is correct.
And you're doing that with, I know you haven't mentioned this, but you did mention that you had physical health issues that you had to overcome. And one of them surely could have stopped you from doing that. And you just powered right through that.
I did. So I'll get into a little bit of a story here. I'll try not to drag it on too much, but I, I over exercise. It's what I do.
That perfectionist in you.
Yes. And I love it. But one summer I went a little too hard and I did Tough Mudder and I hiked 9 peaks in one summer of the 14ers. And my last one of the summer was Mount Massive. And I was hiking with a couple friends and we decided to take the steeper route, and which usually is an okay choice. It's a little bit shorter but steeper. And I was coming down the mountain and I had my hiking poles in my hand and my hips started to shake. And I was like, what is happening? They started hurting really bad. And I was like, they just felt weak. I like kind of lost control of them a little bit. They were trembling because I was walking across these giant boulders and my hips had just kind of had it. And my first thought was, we still have a long ways to go. Am I going to make it down this mountain? And I got kind of angry. And my friend, asked if I was okay. And I just said, I think I'm okay. I just need to keep walking. So we made it down, um, got the peak, super happy about that. And then I really started limping afterwards. And I just thought, oh, I overdid it. Well, yes, I did overdo it that summer. That's 100% certain. But my boss at the time at work, he came over to my desk a month after I'd been limping around for a month. I hadn't been exercising at all. Taking Epsom salt baths and just trying to stretch, and I did yoga, but nothing super intense. And he comes over to my desk and he looks at me and goes, "You're 28 years old. Go to the damn doctor." Your hip would have healed by now if it could have. I went, I listened. He was such a great mentor to me. And that's just how he was. He was honest and he's going to call me out on my stuff. And I started going to appointments. I got an ultrasound and I thought it was torn at first. And it came back fine. Nothing was torn. So I'm like, great, that's great news, but it still wasn't healing. So I went to my primary care doctor and, they offered me inflammatories and PT. So I did PT for, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was quite a bit, at least 2 months. And he finally said, "I'm really glad your pain's getting better, but if you're in pain, something's really wrong." And this has been going on for probably 8 months at the end of this. Just appointment after appointment and no answer. I didn't want to pay for a lot of expensive tests, but I got to a point where, okay, something's really wrong. So I went to an orthopedic specialist, got additional x-rays, because I forgot to mention this. I'd gone to the chiropractor too, and they took x-rays previously. And he saw a flattening of the bone in my femur and said, "That's really not good. You need to get an MRI, and we need to see what's going on with your bone. And then I got my MRI done, and he delivered the news that I had a vascular necrosis. So he showed me, half of my bone was dead. And he said, I'm sorry, but a hip replacement is your only option. And you can choose to wait a couple of years, or you can do it now. But I'm going to have to refer you to somebody else. And I just sat in that room kind of like, what? He said, I rarely see this in someone your age. It's very rare. I think that's why it took people so long to figure out what was happening, is because people who are your age don't really get this issue very often. And so I thought about it for a while, and the pain was really bad. So I decided to go ahead and get the replacement scheduled. And I really didn't need to think about it much, because I knew that I needed to do what I needed to do to live and make the most of my life. And exercise and being in nature are things that are so important to me now. I can't imagine my life without them. So I just made that choice, and everything fell into place after that.
That's an incredible thing to overcome. And you were so young, and I mean, to deal with a hip replacement and then to continue powering on through life, to actually like climb what, almost now half of the 14ers in Colorado, like that's amazing.
Yeah. Um, Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And there were definitely some challenges along with that, but all very much worth it, and all along with the help of my people, my people that have been helping me the whole time. So I definitely had great support. And then I met my current boyfriend, Mike, um, all during that time too. So it was kind of like, okay, once I accept this is my path, and this is what I'm going to do. Um, it was tough, but things felt right, and I just trusted the process.
That trusting the process part is so big. So, what do you love the most about where you are in your life right now after going through all of this?
You know, to be completely honest, I don't take enough time to think about everything I've overcome. I just tend to like power through things now. That is where I find my strength, but there is such a subtle strength about acknowledgement and appreciation, and just looking at, like, and some of the women I've worked with have told me this, like, you are a totally different person than the person I met when she first came out here. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's just, I'm so grateful for the growth, and I'm so grateful that the people have been brought into my life that are supposed to be here, and that I'm a healthier person. And I I would never wish some of the things that have happened, on anybody, but they've made me who I am, and that is something that is so unique and gives me the gift to be of service.
That's so beautiful. So, would you have any plans for moving forward on how you can be of service?
I actually do a women's mentorship group, and I really enjoy being a part of that. I have also, there was a point in time where I volunteered at a detox behavior health center, and I got to lead meditations in mindfulness based things there, and I loved doing that. Um, and my plans for the future, I'm still figuring that out, but I know that I'm supposed to be of service and do things, that help others heal. I would like to do something along the lines of like helping people transform. I thought about counseling for a while. I don't think that is my path, but I really want to explore what options are out there, and or perhaps I can create one for myself. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I do find myself like collecting little skills here and there, and I feel like like when the time comes, like I will know. It'll all kind of like come together, and it'll just I'll just know, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes total and complete sense. Actually, my guest last week even talked about how um, she kind of just acquired all of these different tools and these different skills. And eventually, after almost 10 years, they just kind of got compiled into this one huge purpose. And now she's just like, nope, I know my direction. I'm doing it. And I'm so happy that I went through all of those experiences that so that I could actually continue and do this work that I'm doing now. And I
That's awesome.
can, yeah, yeah, it really is. And I can totally see from an outside perspective the little things that you talk about that you're like gaining here and there, they're actually huge and helpful things for people. So I know that you're going to be doing big things, and you're already helping people in powerful and healing ways. And I'm just so thankful to have you on this show. Like, just listening to your story is just so empowering and inspiring for sure.
Thank you. I was so excited when you asked me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect collaboration.
Seriously, for sure. Just to like come on to talk about the more deep and meaningful things about life. It's just so helpful and inspiring just to keep on going on our own paths, even.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so my final question, I'm asking every single guest this because I think it's not only helpful to be asked this question, but also for everybody listening to ask themselves. The question is, who is the superhero inside you that has all the power you could ever need?
Wow, that is a good question. Um, I think something that's been recurring for me lately, and this is just the first thing that came to mind, so if it doesn't make sense, totally get it, but it's finding your center, and like your also feminine nature, and really embracing like who you are authentically and translating that, outwardly. So my goal is to, I think, some sometimes that superhero just wants to come out, and to be yourself, I think, is probably the most powerful thing you could do. And I'm still working on that. I've come a long way, but um, I I think that's a continuous journey.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for coming and talking today. And it's such an honor, and I'm so appreciative of you sharing your vulnerable story so that we can inspire more people together.
I am so grateful that you asked me, and I am incredibly grateful to have you as a soul sister in my life. I just thank you for allowing me to share, and I hope to do more work with you in some form or fashion in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely going to do like a retreat center or something in the mountains, something big.
I am 100% for that.
Okay, guys, you heard it here first. Like, definitely stay tuned for it. I don't care if it's in 20 years, it's happening.
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. So, guys, if you've gotten any kind of value out of this, please feel free to share so that we can expand our inspiration and our impact together. And of course, look forward to more amazing stories from more amazing souls. Thank you so much for being here. Chat soon. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope that this episode has somewhat inspired you to take control, given you the tools to feel secure and on fire in your own independence, and help to unlock within you the impact that you're here to make. You're not born with a purpose. You're born as your purpose. It's already inside of you, and it's your responsibility in this life to live that in the truest way possible. If you've gotten any sort of value out of this episode, please share it so that we can together expand our inspiration and our impact in this world.